Open City Council meeting is Wednesday, July 17th at 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Council member Titus?
Present.
Brzezinski?
Yes.
Flores is absent. Horton?
Here.
Cole? Yes. Shaw? Here. Truth.
Here.
Right, at this point, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and but first, led by a moment of silence. As we stand, I would like for us to, I'm going to mic pass here in a second, but to also acknowledge Miss Snowy Crosby, who passed away this week.
Thanks, Council President. Just want to say, as you're in the moment of silence, think about our entire community, because you see some of the things that are going on in our community. There's a famous song that talks about how people have a smile on their face, but you never know what they're going through inside. So just remember our community.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to accept the minutes from the Wednesday, July 1st City Council meeting and bills for payment on July 17th, 24th, and 31st. Councilmember Brzezinski?
Yes.
Horton?
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Shaw? Yes. Truth?
Yes.
Yes. At this point, we do not have any presentations. We have two presentations this evening, and I will go ahead and pass it over to the council to present them.
I'm going to start with the Mercyhurst Prep baseball team, and I'm honored to do this as a retired school elementary teacher at St. James. Many students have gone up there, and I have attended many events. It's a great school. By Council Member Ed Brzezinski, seconded by Council Member Flores, Horton, Cole, Shaw, Troop, and Titus on July 15th, 2026. Resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that whereas the City Council of the City of Erie wishes to pay a special tribute to the Mercyhurst Preparatory School boys baseball team, coaches, and staff on their remarkable season culminating in a PIAA Class 2A state runner-up. Finish representing the City of Erie and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with honor, integrity, and determination. Whereas the Mercyhurst Prep men's Lakers demonstrated exceptional athletic achievement, teamwork, perseverance, and sportsmanship throughout the 2026 season, and compiled an outstanding 22-3 overall record, captured the District 10 Class AA championship, and advanced through the PIAA state tournament with victories over Riverview, Fort Cherry, and Neshonoc to earn the first appearance in the PIAA baseball state championship game in program history. And whereas the team's remarkable season culminated in a PIAA Class 2A state runner-up, finished representing the City of Erie and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with honor, integrity, and determination, and whereas the accomplishments of the student athletes reflect countless hours of dedication, discipline, and hard work, supported by outstanding coaches, parents, school administrators, faculty, alumni, and loyal fans. The 2026 Mercyhurst Prep boys baseball team has inspired young athletes throughout the Erie community and demonstrated the values of leadership, commitment, resilience, and excellence, both on and off the field. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City Council proudly recognizes and congratulates the 2026 Mercyhurst Prep School Boys Baseball Team for its historic season and for bringing distinction to Mercyhurst Prep Preparatory School and the Erie community. We extend our sincere appreciation to whose dedication contributed to this extraordinary achievement, and we commend the team for setting a lasting standard of excellence for future generations of Lakers.
Yeah.
Sure.
Good to have. Certificates for all the ball players. They would line up over this way, and as a treat, Mr. Crosby, come up here. I think Lloyd would like to meet you. Come on. Thank you. Hey, Coach, want to say a couple words? Hey, Coach, ball. Want to say a couple words? No, Randy. Long minute, 47 minutes, Randy.
First, I would like to thank everybody here. This is excellent. We're very proud of that. Our team had an outstanding season, obviously, this year. I started coaching Mercyhurst in 1996, and this is definitely the best team that they ever coached. So they went to, as you stated, all the way to the final game. They did that through outstanding leadership from our seniors. If those guys can stand up right now, we recognize a great group of seniors here. Really remarkable leadership and skills on the field, off the field, just tremendous people and just a great team all around. Couldn't be happier. Our coaches were outstanding, all the hard work that they put in, everybody that it took to get this far. It's not easy to do in baseball, and they were able to overcome a lot of adversity. And like you said, they persevered through this to get to the final game. So, again, congratulations to them on what they did. We've had a lot of guys reach first team all-region honors. We had some players all-state honors. That would be Connor Clay, Zach Krzyzewski. Zach Krzyzewski can stand up right now. He was voted the All-District Player of the Year. I don't believe anybody's ever achieved that from Mercy's. I don't recall one. Trying to get the final answer on that with Tom Rising, whether he was going to be here tonight to present him that award, but he couldn't make it, so we'll give it to him another time. But fantastic all-around effort from everybody, and thank you all for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck next season. By Councilmember Ed Brzezinski, seconded by Councilmembers Flores, Horton, Cole, Shaw, Troop, and Titus on July 15th, 2026, resolved by the Council of the City of Erie that whereas Cliff Crosby, a native of Erie, Pennsylvania, has distinguished himself through excellence in athletics, education, public service, and community leadership. Cliff earned a full football scholarship to the University of Maryland, where he became the first member of his family to graduate from both high school and college, earning a degree in family studies. And whereas Cliff achieved the highest levels of professional football as a defensive back for the St. Louis Rams and Indianapolis Colts, earning the title of Super Bowl champion. Following his retirement from professional football in 2004, Cliff Crosby dedicated his life to inspiring and empowering young people by becoming a nationally recognized motivational speaker, young advocate, and mentor, using his personal experience to encourage students to make positive choices, set meaningful goals, and overcome adversity. And whereas through his actions, Create Your Tomorrow, ACT program, Cliff Crosby has positively impacted elementary, middle, and high school students throughout the East Coast, promoting accountability, academic achievement, leadership, and community involvement. Cliff Crosby has continued his commitment to public service by earning a master's level degree in psychology with a concentration in behavioral health and serving as an intelligence analyst, a captain for the trust powered by the NFL Players Association, a motivational speaker for Caron Treatment Centers, and a dedicated advocate for the underserved communities. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we hereby recognize and honor Cliff Crosby for his exceptional achievements, steadfast commitment to empowering youth, and lifelong service to communities throughout the nation. And if I may say something, I attended a PALS event a year or two ago, and you were the speaker, and you really had shared your story personally with everyone there, and it was so inspiring. Thank you for all that you are doing.
And I will speak. Speaking of, I appreciate that. Your seat?
Where do I start? I had no idea why I was coming here. So I was driving here and it's like, where are we going? This is the police station. Why am I going here? What is going on? So I didn't know where I was going, but I'm glad this moment happens, right? In our lifetime, you don't get a chance to get your flowers and get people honoring you and thanking you for your service and things you've done, right? I've done a lot. I'm exhausted. 51 years old. I've been in the trenches. I've been working with young people across the country, just trying to inspire them, right? And one of the things you left out was drug and alcohol prevention. It's just so near and dear to me because it's my story. It's where I come from. It's my community. It's everything that I see around my people and my family and what they struggle with. And when I drive up and down the streets of Erie, I always tell people when I visit Erie, it impacts me so hard that up until I reach Grove City on 79 is when I snap back into my normal self because I'm so emotional when I leave because I see my friends, I see family and people I grew up with and they're still struggling or in need. And it's so, I'm one person, right? I can't fix everything. I have my lane and I stay in it, and that's young people. If I can do something, say something, inspire them, give them a quote, give them some type of hope, that's the change, right? That's the change for me because I didn't have that person. I didn't have those people. I had people, but I didn't have a lot of people pouring into me. Some of those people are no longer here. Bobby Harrison from the JFK Center, man, he poured into me. First person that poured into me, told me about college, told me about how to select the college, told me why should I go to this college versus that college. I was like, bro, I'm just going to play football. And he was going deeper than I wanted to go. But now that I'm older, I understand why. Mr. Collins, who was my English teacher, hated Mr. Collins. He always made me use the proper words whenever I asked for raising my hand or anything. If I said bathroom, he said, no, it's a restroom. It's a bathroom at your house. In school, it's a restroom. And he would not let you go to the restroom if you didn't say it. And so now I get it, right? And that's the thing I'm trying to help young people understand. You might not understand it right now, but it's going to come a time where everything your mom said, everything your dad said, it's going to all make sense. And today, this all makes sense, man. I'm here for a football camp, and it's way more than football. It's way more than football. I don't promise them kids they're going to make it to the NFL. I don't promise them they're going to make it to college. I promise them that if they make it out of Erie, they can make it anywhere. And that's the promise. The promise is keep your head on straight, keep drugs out of your system until your brain is fully developed and you got a chance at life. You got a chance at a great life. And that's what I teach young people. If you're ever wondering what I'm saying to them, that's what I'm saying. Until you're 26, don't put this in your system because your brain is not developed. And for me, I'm elated with learning, right? Deontay Cooley is in the front row, man. One thing I can say about that guy, that's a smart man. I know me and him similar in a lot of ways because I see it. You can give him a book right now. He'll be able to recite it by tomorrow because I know how his brain works. He's elated with learning. And man, as long as you want to learn, you got a chance. As long as you're interested in learning, you got a chance. And I tell young people all the time, YouTube University. I don't care how much money you got. You got YouTube, don't you? I changed my Syncerator the other day by YouTube. I didn't need to go to school for that. I'm not calling another man to come fix something that I can fix. And so for me, I just believe in learning and teaching yourself what you don't get from the world. That's how you get ahead. You got to pour into yourself. And it's one book that I want my city to read, and it's The Art of War. When you learn the art of war, you can get things done. Because being the loudest in the room don't always get it done. Being the quietest in the room don't always get it done. But strategy and being strategic and partnering with the right people gets a lot of things done. So City Council, man, thank y'all for having me today. I watch you guys a lot of times more than y'all know, and y'all got a hard job. Y'all got a hard job, and Miss Dr. Titus and Mr. Brzezinski, man, I love this guy. And I was disappointed too, right, when I saw that, man, because I look up to that man. That man taught me a lot. That man taught me college. That man taught me how to come to school and put my guard down. He taught me how to come to school and learn. I learned a lot from Mr. Brzezinski, man. And Mr. Brzezinski, you don't know that impact, right? But I just want you to know that it's there. That impact was there, and you made it. And you made it because you got time to learn me and understand who I was and what type of community I came from. I thought you was black for a long time, right? And so he helped me, man, and I'll never, ever forget that. I'll never forget that. And I just want to let y'all know, man, anything I ever did, 814 was in my blood. It was in my blood. There was nothing I was going to do to embarrass this city. There was nothing I was going to do to embarrass this city. I felt like I had the whole neighborhood on my back when I left here. I felt like everybody was counting on me, looking to me, and they didn't want me to mess it up. And I said, I ain't going to mess it up for my city. Nope, you couldn't pay me to get in trouble. Because I said, nope, my whole city and my neighborhood is looking at me. People were inspired by me when I played. My family was a better unit when I played. So all those athletes back there, man, you don't know what you're doing to your family by being a part of sports and being in sports. It really does bring a community together. It brings a family together. I see people in the audience, Malcolm Pulliam. I just went up to him and I said, man, bless your heart, man. You doing God's work, right? Because I don't want that job. I don't want your job. I don't want to do what you do, but I respect what you do. And somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do it, and you the right person. And to Matthias, a guy that I saw at my football camp 7 years ago. Matthias, stand up. He went to Erie Cathedral graduating, but that kid right there is the reason I do my camp. I remember the first time I met his mom, and she said to me, he wants to quit. He does not want to stay at the camp. It's the second day. He doesn't want to come back. And I went and had a conversation with him, and from listening to his mom, it changed his perspective. Right? It changed his perspective, and I told him to see it through. You start what you finish. If you don't got the strength to start it, to finish it, don't start it. You start what you finish. And my family is going through a lot right now. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. And everything in me wanted to be like, give up on this camp. But I was like, nah, I got to start what I finish because it's bigger than me. It's always bigger than us. And we got to understand that the young people are watching. And we all have a legacy. So just continue to remember what you want your legacy to be. All right? So with that, I'm going to end because I can talk all day, Ms. Schaefer. I can talk all day. You know that. Mr. Horton, I respect you, and I got a lot of respect for the work you're doing in the community. And Mo True, a quarterback that I played with at Erie Central High School. I hated this guy when he played football. He was a big, strong quarterback. He was the best quarterback in the league. And so, Mo, I got a lot of respect for you and the work that you do. Keep posing the tough questions on social media and getting people to think. And just understand, I'm quiet these days. I'm quiet. I stay in my lane. But I see a lot, and I'm working behind the scenes to make things better for a lot of people. So thank y'all again for having me, and it's honor to be here. Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Sorry for disrupting the meeting, the normal meeting. DT. Appreciate it. All right.
Council President, do you mind if I just say something real quick? Yeah. I just want to say to the baseball team, congratulations, because, playing sports myself, I realize how hard it is just to win one game. You know what I mean? So to get all the way to the state title, I realize how hard that is. My senior year in high school, we got to the Western Final as a football team, and we played against LeVar Arrington. His team was North Hills. We played for the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys, different teams. They beat us by 7 points, and we got down to the 2-yard line and couldn't get in. and they won the state title the next week. And I'm taking my ACT test the next week thinking about them playing in the state title game. So I congratulate you for going. And also, it was special to me to see one of my former players on the staff, too, Tom Danius. When I was a young coach, JV coach, I was a fireball. And sometimes things would happen and I'd be so crazy. And he'd be like, Coach, calm down. This is a high school. Do this, do that, Coach. This is what you should call. And I would call him to work. So I know you got a good guy on your staff with Tom Daniels. Congratulations, guys.
I get the distinct pleasure of being the person to bring it back to very abrupt. Is there anybody here for a repository sale? Is there anybody here for a repository sale? Is there anybody here for a repository sale? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move into public comment. And as we start to line up, we're going to have public comment. You line up our left, your right. Make sure you're signing in on the front up here. And before we get in, I am going to use a bit of a point of privilege. I know that we've done a lot of talking, but I just want to say that I'm listening, and we're listening, and we're hearing. And we can see the frustration, and we're very aware of the disappointment and the distrust that's been voiced, and that we agree with a lot that we've heard. And I just want to tell you plainly what's being done, so hopefully we can speak to a couple of things. I spoke to this in caucus. But currently there are a few ordinances that are under review right now with the city solicitor, and we'll make it back to council. That first being the Article 112, our rules of council that are setting clear standards of decorum for conduct that is expected from any elected official and how they carry out those duties. And making sure that that follows with state statute. And the second being, we've heard many concerns, and we have for several years, around the Citizen Review Board and the potential of codifying the SBCP through an ordinance, and accountability that many, not only of you, that many of us here as members of council have asked for as well, and that there is work being done on that, and not just with the solicitor, but also with the administration. And so before we go into public comment, I just want to be clear on those 2 points, that we do hear you. I know sometimes people leave before we get to the liaison reports, so I want to make sure I said those 2 things out loud. So as we now open up, you will have 5 minutes. Please make sure you write your name, clearly state your name and your municipality, and then when we hear that timer, please just be respectful so that everybody has the opportunity to get through. And the echo is going to be very loud, so when we're in here, if we could just be mindful of how much noise carries. And then the mic is yours.
Hi, my name is Michelle Dovershaw from the city of Erie. You brought up the SBCP. I feel kind of sideswiped about that because I received an email saying it was put to the side and put on hold. Then I hear about a meeting. So that makes me feel like the transparency that's being talked about is not there no more. Because you can't tell one person, I'm going to put you on hold, and then, hey, we're having a meeting over here. What are you trying to say? What is that saying to the people that actually want to make change within the city of Erie? The people that sit up till 2 o'clock in the morning, reviewing video, getting phone calls from family members of people at 2 o'clock in the morning. With that being said, when we talk about police equity, we are not talking about giving special treatment to anyone. We are talking about ensuring that every person receives the same protection, the same respect, and the same justice regardless of the color of their skin, the neighborhood they live in, their income, or who they are. That badge they wear represents a promise. It is a promise that the law will be enforced fairly, that officers will protect life, and that every resident matters equally. Police equity is simply asking that this promise be fulfilled for everyone. Across our nation, many communities continue to ask difficult but necessary questions about disparities in policing. They ask whether people of different races experience police interactions differently. They ask whether trust has been damaged. Strong policing and police accountability are not opposing ideas. They go hand in hand. Every officer who serves with integrity benefits when the public has confidence in the department. Every family benefits when their encounters with officers and residents are guided by professionalism, de-escalation, respect, and transparency. Police equity means ensuring that police policies are applied consistently. It means collecting and reviewing data to identify patterns and address disparities. It means providing ongoing training in de-escalation, procedural justice, cultural awareness, and constitutional policing. It means investigating complaints thoroughly and fairly, regardless of who is involved. And it means being transparent with the community whenever possible. Communities are safest when trust exists. People are more likely to report crimes, cooperate in investigations, and work alongside law enforcement when they believe they're being treated fairly and respectfully. It also means recognizing that every interaction matters. A respectful conversation can build confidence. An unnecessary escalation can damage trust for years. That's what's going on in this city. I have gotten phone calls. I have seen it with myself. White people get pulled over for a brake light, bad tint. Cop walks up and says, hello, blah, 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 show me your stuff. You show me your stuff. Here's your ticket, on your way, or sometimes a warning. I have seen it with my own eyes. At 10:30 at night, a man was pulled over, a black man was pulled over, and they called it for the tint. It's dark at 10:30. You can't measure tint at 10:30 at night. When this young gentleman said, no, you cannot search my car because you pulled me over for the tint, give me my ticket, and let me be on my way. And there is house cam video of this. He said, if you don't get out the car, I'm going to drag your ass out. He got out the car, still would not give consent for the search, so they have found it in their way to love to tow black men's vehicles. Tow them until they get a search warrant to search them. I don't know how that's right in any way, shape, or form. If I get pulled over, well, maybe not anymore, because I'd be standing on the wrong side when it comes to them. But people deserve, and I've known of that happening 3 times in the last 6 months. Then there was another report, I don't know if it's confirmed, another person hit today by an Erie police officer. I don't know if it was confirmed, but that's what I was told. When does it stop? And when can black men, black women, my sons, be outside without worrying about the police?
Thank you. I do want to give one point, because I think that there was some confusion on the point that I said before you restart your time. There was, we don't typically do this, but there was not an SPCP meeting. That has not happened. That was clarified at our last meeting by Mayor Devlin, and I just wanted to reiterate. So if my point was misconstrued, that's not on the administration, that is on my end. It is, what I'm talking about is codification via an ordinance, not the SPCP. So I just wanted to clarify a point so that I didn't do that. Thanks.
Hi, Council. Erin Meisner at East Side of Erie. I actually just start off thanking the Erie Police Department for your handling of the recent homicide next to my house on 10th and Brandes. I spent a lot of time talking to police officers about how everything was handled. It was a very chaotic situation with children playing in the park next to the incident because it was broad daylight. All the neighbors are watching. I know whatever the police officers are doing, they're going to be criticized, but I really hope a debrief will be done to determine what was done well and what could be improved upon in the future. And my condolences to Mr. Torrance's family and friends. Thank you also for continuing your commitment to not working with ICE agents as they continue to wound and kill unlawfully. I do want to talk about the use of force policies in relation to Kevin Sparks. I understand both correspondence from Mayor Devlin there have been conversation with Albuquerque, New Mexico, as they have recently been discharged from DOJ oversight after 11 years due to excessive police force. I really appreciate the time to inform me of additional steps being taken. Upon reading the policies around use of force in Albuquerque, I think these ones could apply. Deadly force. Any use of force that is reasonably likely to cause death or serious physical injury and includes but is not limited to deliberately striking an individual with a motor vehicle or using a pit on a two-wheeled or three-wheeled motor vehicle. When use of force, when feasible, department personnel shall allow an individual an objectively reasonable amount of time to submit to arrest or a lawful order before use of force. The department personnel shall not use force against a restrained or handcuffed individual except as it's objectively reasonable, or intentionally target the head, neck, or throat with any force application unless deadly force is warranted. They also need to closely monitor individuals who are taken into custody for signs of distress and immediately request medical attention following any use of force or serious use of force regardless of visible injury or complaint of injury. And in regards to ECW post-use guidelines, department personnel shall always call medical services personnel to the scene to provide medical treatment. None of that was done for Kevin. Other changes to police policies include de-escalation requirements, police board review board, a civilian police oversight advisory board, and they have a policy that officers with non-use of force actions in a calendar year are reassigned. None is good news. 2014 Albuquerque numbers, 170 use of force arrests, or 0.7 use of force per 100 arrests. 41% of those arrestees were injured and 44% hospitalized. That's terrible. That's why the DOJ got involved. 2024 was the last year full data. There were 673 use of force arrests, or a 5.2 use of force per 100 arrests, which is still an increase of 500% of arrests with use of force, despite being no longer under DOJ jurisdiction. Injuries and hospitalizations were included in the 2024 report. The population of Albuquerque is 48% Hispanic, 37% white, 3% black, 7% indigenous, 5% Asian. The use of force arrests were 55% Hispanic, 20% white, which is about 50% less than the percentage of the population, 11% black, which is 4 times more than the percentage of the population, 9% indigenous, and 1% Asian. While I can't tell you if all of these policy numbers or all of these numbers are statistically significant, what it does suggest is that adherence to policy doesn't reduce the use of force, though it may lessen the degree of use of force, and in no way accounts for the racism associated with arrest and the use of force. This is one area where Erie can be innovative in our change making. I'm asking that these 2 policy changes in the use of force, SOP, available for public review in the next 90 days, which would utilize the DOJ use of force policy and the IACP's recommendations at a minimum, and include discussion with policy experts from around the country. Also, a concerted effort to continue to recruit more Black and women officers to the force. Lastly, to my LGBTQIA community, there is no queer liberation without Black liberation. We can not only champion causes that affect us directly. There would be no Stonewall without Marsha P., Stormy, and Miss Major. We must stand together in unity with those who came first and spoke the loudest, not just for themselves, but for us as well. Hate has no place on City Council, especially toward other council members. Apologize and resign. Justice for Cello, justice for Kevin, justice for Keith, Renee, Alex, Lorenzo, and Johan, and free Palestine. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rick Label. I live in the city of Erie. I found it interesting that a certain council member brought forth these recognitions tonight. I had to chuckle to myself thinking that that was going to help him smooth everything over. But this is not my first time at the rodeo. I've worked in the corporate and business world all my career. And what happened here a few weeks ago would not have ever been tolerated in a nonprofit or in the corporate world. They would have lost their job. And my question is, why the mayor's office And members of the city council have not demanded his resignation. This should not be allowed. He needs to go. He needs to go now. And the only people that are going to force him to do it are you. And I hope I don't have to come back here next month to say the same thing. Thank you.
My name is Mike Brensel. I have some photographs I'd like to share with City Council. Yes. As you know, I've been here multiple times for the same reason. I finally got to talk to a supervisor at the police station. I told him what was going on. I told him a man with a Confederate flag basically told me I'm not allowed to rent to minorities, that my house got damaged, my property got damaged, that my minority tenants lost their home, other people in other Florida lost their home. And they said it was a civil matter, a guy chopping my apartment up with a machete and an axe and stabbing everything up. And I cannot believe that. It's ridiculous. I gave them the phone numbers of my tenants. There was no investigation. That's all. They said they're not going to do anything about it. They showed up a couple times. They're more annoyed with me. And I come back and everything. I wanted you to look at them pictures. That house could have burned down. The guy was ripping the wiring out of my house. If this was happening at a Gannon boarding house with a bunch of college students in there, would that be tolerated? Would it? Or would it be only tolerated to me? My low-income tenants live there. This man that did this with the Confederate flag, he also robbed 2 people right near the house. There's a cell phone place. It's called Metro. He approached the worker there, kissing on the window, blowing kisses down, acting perverted. He grabbed the guy off the bicycle and threw him off on the ground and robbed him. The lady that works at the store witnessed this. He also robbed another guy right in front of my rental property, an elderly man in his 60s, grabbed him, threw him on the floor, smacked him in the face for $18. I don't know how this goes on. I talked to the police. His aunt and his grandmother and his whole family were willing to testify against him. The police wouldn't even call. He's even threatened to cut his own family up and place them in garbage bags and set them out in the trash. And the police do nothing. And these are all low-income people. And how is it a civil matter when a man with a Confederate flag damages an African-American woman's washing machine intentionally? Makes everyone move out. I'm not allowed to rent to minorities. And the police do nothing. I had Dobridge come. He said there's at least $8,200 that he wants to fix. And then I brought a packet. I have talked to the district attorney prior. And they tell me it's not a civil complaint. It's a criminal matter as long as the damage is done intentionally. I brought a law. The crimes and offense code, damage, it just has to be intentional. This guy intentionally damaged my property. I've been told I'm not allowed to rent to minorities. My nephew wanted to rent from me. He said, I can afford to rent at your apartment. I want to rent to you. And I told him about the guy, and he can't rent from me. Because you know why? My nephew, he has a black wife. And it's not safe for him to live there. And this is, I'm going to go to the federal government. I'm going to go to HUD Fair Housing. I'm going to go beyond the city here. The police have literally repeatedly turned their back on me. They did not interview any of my witnesses. They did not interview the woman at the store. This guy's free to terrorize and harm me. I had to sell my property because I can't rent that property to minorities. Just because of 2 guys with a Confederate flag, a case of beer, and $50 worth of meth. And this is what it is about. The police do nothing. This is the axe this guy used to chop up my house. That I called his probation officer. I called Erie County Probation. I said, I want to speak to this guy's probation officer. I didn't even know he was on probation, but he was. And they took a machete away from him. They just chopped my house up. He had repeatedly confessed to murdering somebody at the railroad tracks on 14th Street. I told the police to this. They will not do nothing. I don't know why. All my tenants are low income, and that's the reason I believe. This guy committed multiple felonies, damaging my property. 5,000. Once it's 5,000, it's a felony. It's over 8,000. The guy's in jail. I can't even operate inside the city here. I've been repeatedly assaulted by this same two guys with a Confederate flag. They tell me I'm not allowed to go to church with minorities, and nothing's done. I'm almost wasting my time. So do I go? Is anyone going to help me out? And I can't find one cop in the city of Erie to do the right thing and interview any of my tenants or not. They all turn my back on my low-income minority tenants.
I would be able to do anything here from this.
Mr. Russell, you did talk, you're in contact with the district attorney's office, right?
No, I did not. And what am I going to do when they come to my house and beat me up? That's what has happened. They come right to my rental property and assault me.
Because your time's up on public comment, I'll talk to you out from the hallway.
Yes.
Okay? That way we'll not interrupt you before the comments.
Good evening, my name is Mary Ann McDaniels Palessa. I come in from southeastern Erie County with a concern about how we are doing foreclosures. I have in my hands a sheriff's sale. I have a 3-acre property. It's not my property that's being held for sheriff's sale. It's my next door neighbor who died a horrible death with an illness. What I am noticing, and I want to bring to your attention tonight, is that when I took a look at the paperwork that I was served, that the deed itself is incorrect. They are using information from 60 years ago. So how in the world can you serve somebody? The person they were going to attempt to serve would be, by math calculation, 135 years old. Because I've had this property for over 40 years. So what I would like to suggest to County Council tonight is that you approach, Erie City Council, that you approach Erie County Council and say, I think you need to do a stop for 90 days until we figure out what in the world is going on. I called the attorney in Pittsburgh who's doing these foreclosures. I said, hey, I just want to give you a heads up that the property you're about to foreclose on and do a sheriff's sale in, an acre of it is my property. I have a 3-acre farm. So I would like to let you know that what you're commenting on in the deed surveillance is very old. And I have paperwork, the recorder of deeds has paperwork, on the fact that the property, that what they used, I said, I don't know if these people were very lazy, just didn't want to get the job done, but there are 2 more microfiches, if you will, that show the deeds that they didn't use, which are current. So I think we have a real problem here, and it broke my heart when I saw the young gentleman, and I think it was his grandmother, that were removed from their property, because if they're doing the same thing to me, and I caught it, and I don't think I'm a particularly smart, partner with deck, then how could they have been served? So I have to agree with this young man that I don't think it was handled properly, and I personally don't think he was ever served. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
I was hoping I could get another minute on a mercy list.
Your timer hasn't gone off. Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing that I wanted to say was I did speak to the sheriff. I believe that he is in compliance with what he's supposed to be doing with his job. He should not be blamed for what's going on because he's being directed by a Pittsburgh office, the VITTI, V-I-T-T-I. I spoke to them, and they said, well, you just have to get an attorney. or you just have to get your land surveyed. I said, sir, I have documents here that show that was done like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I said, you don't have correct information on file. I said, I don't know if the person who was doing this didn't know enough to turn the page, but I believe there's a lot of low income. My life has been spent helping low income, elderly, and disabled, and I don't believe that they're being treated correctly, and I think they're being taken advantage of. I have another family that told me that when they called this office, they said, well, you're going to have to pay for a surveyor, you're going to have to pay for an attorney, and if you try and heirs collect this property, you're going to end up paying their car note that was repossessed, you're going to end up paying for their credit cards. And the people were like, oh no, I don't want to get involved, I'm scared. Well, they're intimidating the folks that they're attempting that are low income, in my opinion, maybe not particularly well educated, by a huge law firm that is not, in my opinion, doing things correctly by the book.
Once our time is up, then that's still on like our time, yeah.
Go ahead. I yield.
I apologize for interrupting. Most of you know I come from the county. Unfortunately, what you're speaking about here tonight has nothing to do with the city. It has everything to do with Erie County and the real estate and the pathonetaries, recorder of deeds, and we hear the heartbreaking stories, and they move us. But this is zoning, refuge, parks and rec, public safety. And it's kind of hard. The only thing that really intertwines as far as that goes are that we're a taxing body in the same way that the county and the school board is. There's been no other demographic who has lost wealth through losing property in homes than Black Erie. But it's not a thing here for City Hall.
Well, I'm asking you to pass an ordinance to go to county council.
It doesn't.
And I'm asking Dr. Titus to maybe think about pursuing that so that at least you can give them a heads up from the city, hey, wait.
The city we have agencies here that we partner with that have franchise over all of that stuff that we do. It's called the Land Bank, the Redevelopment Authority. And so, we want to help, but an ordinance is just a letter of support. And it's really, I don't do county council business now that I'm on city council. And I don't expect them to legislate what I do on city council and county council. Can I pick up the phone and say, hey, Mary and Daniels Colessa has an issue. Has she been over to speak with you? Well, yeah. But that's nothing that me personally, that I was elected to do the things that really, really are pressing here in Erie, like the $12 million deficit, looming pension crisis, and One Harbor, Bayfront. There's just so much stuff. And a lot of times when it comes staying at that mic, I try to catch it all. It's kind of like drinking out of the fire hose. 60, 70, 80% of it has nothing to do with, the things that we're elected to do. It has everything to do with our humanity. And I've taken the unusual step, and I don't want to set precedents in even answering a rebuttal, because we don't do that here. It's we have rules of decorum, get special permission from my Dr. Titus to even entertain that when I see the human condition. Some things just, demand or calls out for an answer. And I heard you very well when you said you were asking City Council to propose a law, an ordinance or resolution, but that's not when we propose an ordinance or something, that's a law. We're enacting law. And so that, we wouldn't do that. And so, if you want to talk after the meeting, I'd certainly, any of my county contacts over there, any direction, guidance, help that I can offer. But that's simply not a city issue. And just in the full disclosure, I would not even support anything like that. They come here because it's not under our scope of work, and it would be precedent setting, and it really would be performative, and it really would be out of line because we pass ordinances and enact ordinances to legislate how people do in the city, not what they do in another municipality or legislature. Our ordinance has no effect on anything they do over there in Erie County. It has no effect on anything they do in the school board outside of a letter of support or trying to help them. Our ordinances are for city people and for city residents, for people who live within the confines of the city of Erie proper. But the other, the taxing bodies, we can't legislate. I don't know much. It's good to see you.
Thank you, I'm disappointed.
Hello, my name is Riley Thoreau, City of Erie resident. I've come today to call into question the very duty and nature of our City Council. I ask this not in a fit of judgment, but from a position of sincere concern. It is to my understanding that a City Council is comprised of elected public officials, the duty of which is to act as a local legislative branch to ensure policy building, infrastructure reform, and the safety of the community that elected them. It is also my understanding that they are to be informed by the community in which they were elected to best understand how these exact calls to duty, such as policymaking, infrastructure reform, etc., can be created. I call into question how exactly our current council is doing that. I reiterate, this is not coming from a place of judgment, but sincere curiosity. I'm asking for a creation of a transparency policy, a report or breakdown of the exact duties, responsibilities, and actions each of our councilors are performing to uphold their office. And if one exists, for it to be fully utilized, because the current liaison reports are not fulfilling that, nor are councilors who can leave mid-meeting without consequence. Because from my current vantage point, as a well-informed and active member of my community, I am not seeing this work. Time and time again, I see neighbors come to council with genuine concerns, questions, and needed actions. And time again, they are ignored. I do not expect council or the mayor's office to have every answer, but it is exhausting to see hundreds of us call for answers or raise concerns to absolutely no response or actions. A recent example being when I created a petition regarding ICE and immigration safety from the city and county bounds. Over 200 people within Erie signed this petition along with laid out plans created by other municipalities on how to expand our policies around ICE, and that is both for the county and the city. A copy of which was sent to every elected person in this room. Only one of you responded. 200 citizens signed. You ignored it. I followed up. No response. In a previous meeting, we as a collective were told that we, the voting populace of Erie who lives and dies here, who loves it here, are not the boss of the council. I ask you, if the public you are serving is not who you are ultimately answering to, then why are you seeking a public servant position? We're also told that the use of public comment, which we are entitled to, cannot be the sole way we ask for change, that this platform is exhaustive and unsustainable, and I completely agree. I don't want to be here. I really don't. I have other things to do, and so do you. But as a citizen, I have physically lost count of how many emails and inquiries I have sent you all individually over the years. Emails about police brutality, extreme weather, safety concerns. Over the course of the last 2 years alone, I've sent dozens, to which only 2 of you have ever responded to. Ever. And I thank you for your responses. The majority of you have never once willingly acknowledged or responded to any of our concerns. So what choice do we have but to come here? If you as a governing body truly serve the populace you claim to, show us. Change our minds. Quit looking at your phones and rolling your eyes. Look at us when we speak. You want us to respect your office, and I do want to respect your office. But some of you won't even look us in the eye or stick around. You didn't even stay here for public comment. I'm saying that to the camera. If you believe I'm speaking out of turn, prove it. Show us how you plan on supporting change and community need. This room is emptier than I anticipated or wanted when we planned to speak in, and I know some of you were preparing for a big show out. I can't tell you how many people I spoke to that wanted to come to this, that after the last meeting said they don't want to because, and I quote, "What is the point? Our governing body doesn't care about us. They don't respect us. They don't see us. Why would I give them my time?" They've lost faith in Erie and our governing body. And I can't speak on behalf of all of you, but if I was in a position of public service, which I'd love to do, and hundreds of people suddenly gave up on me, I would feel a very particular way about that. And I really hope that you hear this not as a call out, but a call in. We want to serve Erie together and better. And I'm asking, step one, answer your phones and your emails, and we'll stop showing up here. Thank you so much.
Hello. Care question? City of Erie. I have to apologize, I'm very, very tired. I have just a few notes. I don't have a written statement or anything, but there's a lot that can be said. If we all had time, I could be here for hours, I think. I first want to say a few things about the last council meeting that I was at about a month ago, the other PM meeting. I have to say some of the way that public comment was responded to after so many people expressed genuine, heartfelt comments there was more disappointing than I think even the initial occurrence, some portion of the initial occurrence that the way that some people did not respond to what happened several meetings ago. And I also want to just write the record on a few points there. I know that one of the council members, for example, said that, well, we had to pay attention to decorum. Well, there's actually, I know that you all know this, but you can ask at any point to be recognized. So there's actually something you can do about that. So I know that the sort of bystander-like effect can be a real thing. So I have some understanding there that, but I think it's important to hear, to be encouraged to act in the moment when you see injustice happen. And I don't think that decorum is more important than something like that. So I want to say that. I also want to say that I'm here for free. So I know there was some criticism about people saying, well, oh, I don't like to hear that when people say I'm your boss. That does sound pretty rude, I have to say. But also, I don't think it's the point. This was something that was responsibility that was sought out. You accepted this responsibility, and so I would expect that the voices be heard in that moment for the people that you decided to represent. I think that it's also ridiculous that there's this little show of positivity for a council member that has since left, and I think that is that also needs to be pointed out. I also want to mention Kevin Sparks. I'm glad to hear that there's an investigation going on. I don't know how that will go exactly. I haven't been able to spend the time to pay as close attention to the incremental details of how that goes, but I do know that I saw the video, and what I saw was brutal. It was completely uncalled for. I don't think there is, unless the person that you're chasing down is actively a danger, that sort of occurrence should never, ever happen. If you can't serve a warrant or you can't arrest someone because they're running away, I still think that it does not warrant harm unless they are in active danger. I think whatever standards were used in that moment were really, really corrupt. So I hope something is done about the officers that were involved in that. So I want to call about that. I also saw just a couple days ago or yesterday about how Christina Vogel and Daria, I know this is not something that is directly in your college, but I do want to talk about it because I think it impacted all of us. Went to some defense summit or something like that about bringing manufacturing to the city of Erie. And manufacturing is great. I think that would be wonderful, but not for war machines, especially not in this political climate. I mean, I think that putting a target on Erie in that way it would cause me to leave the city. I think that it is incredibly dangerous. I think if we were in another country where we had a more reasonable defense department, I think it would be fine in a certain sense. Still wouldn't love it, but I would understand that there's a necessity there. However, we are currently in a situation where our government is being very aggressive in ways that are a huge problem. So, don't love that. I'm sure there's plenty more to say about that, but I guess that's my time.
My name is Dr. Clean Brad Middle. I reside here. My pronouns are they, them. I feel like that's not necessary, but I think it seems. So I'm a writer and an editor, which means I have a lot of experience with balancing shoestring budgets, especially as an editor. You know, sometimes people don't like to help you make the magazine trying to make. And so this week I took a look at like the 2026 city budget. It's on the finance department's website. And I have lots of thoughts. And I'm aware that the current mayor and the present competition put this together. And so I'm not going to work on it. And I know the current mayor has a council as well, something to address what people were saying is a bunch of criticism. But in the spirit of doing things, which is what this is for, I do want to focus on the largest budget item, which is police. Of the $110,112,590 general fund, $43,455,665 are allocated to the police department, which is nearly 40% of that general fund. More than half of the police budget is dedicated to salaries, mostly the salaries of police officers. Erie regularly ranks amongst the poorest cities in the United States with a poverty rate. Yet the salary of police officers is in the top quarter of average police salaries in the entire country. And I'm tempted to say that maybe this demonstrates an extra level of professionalism in the police officers, but recent video showing the Russell County Sparks and other incidents in Erie's recent history kind of illustrate that. And so I asked the council to consider, as you know, towards the future, towards the next year, 2 years, to consider police reform, to consider reallocating some of this police budget to programming that reduces crime and welfare and social safety. In the 2026 literature review by Robert Novel and the Legal Review of Technology reinforces something we already know: it's consistent evidence that social safety nets are more effective in reducing crime by eliminating the underlying causes and improving poverty. In addition, social safety nets include money to the economy, they bring greater degrees of prosperity to communities as a whole, which also increases the revenue of the city. And so on today's agenda, we actually see examples of allocating the funding for the various supports and technology, something that does, by its very existence, reduce crime by increasing opportunity, increasing education. Other social safety nets might include housing opportunities, especially for the unhoused. There's a vibrant, rehab space. There's also a vibrant arts and literature scene in here that can be expanded and invested in. You can look at North Dallas, Massachusetts, with Massamoka, Bilbao with the Guggenheim, and the ways in which the arts have been used to increase prosperity, increase opportunity. The arts, people, the best part, and the new task community.
So there are far better uses for this money than my salaries and everything. We'll do the police department that continues to talk. Any questions? It's all.
Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Hayden. I'm a lifelong Erie resident, real estate investor, and a taxpaying citizen. I come before you today to press the fact that you guys already know and understand, and that's that continuous rising taxes and fees implemented by the city are making rent prices unaffordable. And I believe it's having a direct impact with the decline of population and quality of affordable rental units available in Erie. Myself, as well as other real estate investors, feel providing good quality apartments at a fair rate is becoming harder and harder and will soon be impossible due to all these continuous hikes in taxes and fees implemented by the city. I know some may believe landlords may not care about providing quality apartments at a fair price, but I do, and I definitely know I'm not the only one. I believe one way to fix this problem before we see it collapse, local people that are trying to invest in real estate in the city is to pay attention to other mismanaged money in the city, like in the school district alone. We have schools that are on the verge of shutting down while we're hiring new positions that didn't exist before and paying a year's worth of salary to people that are on a paid leave. I ask that you all consider local people trying to invest in our city when you're making these decisions. And that's all. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Samantha. I live in Main Street. I'm hoping you to talk to one of our board members. So,
I saw what you found. Hold on, let me put you.
seems absurd to me that someone would own one, a free gift that falls like the proverbial manna from heaven. We should sell manna without spiritual jeopardy. I don't think so. How we think goes out to how we pay. If we view these this spring or as an object, as property, it can be exploited as a commodity market. When something goes from the status of a gift to the status of commodity, we come to responsibility. And so, presidents support pre-made funds primarily a public resource rather than limited advertising on for exclusive. Public access to trails, parks, gathering areas, open spaces, Christian access, and cultural spaces should be prioritized over additional privatization or public assets for private interests.
Hello, Council. My name is Todd Fairpace, and I live on the west side. I think I'm going to give you a softball. I've lived in downtown Erie for about 10 of the 15 years that I've called this city my home. And it really does warm my heart to see many new businesses and opportunities popping up. The parks, the events, new boutiques are certainly encouraging. Despite that progress, downtown and surrounding neighborhoods remain a food desert. Many residents, especially those who live and work downtown or on the Lower East Side, must travel unreasonable distances in order to buy groceries or household essentials. For those of us that live downtown or on the Lower East Side, this is not a concept or a talking point, but a lived reality. The people we need to make the city's investment in tourism and culture a success, the young professionals, artists, students, families, they don't choose communities based on entertainment and access to a waterfront. They choose places where everyday life is convenient. It's a city. If household staples and healthy foods require someone to travel far outside the city center, then downtown still is not built for long-term sustainable living. I ask the City Council and the city at large to prioritize an attractive and affordable grocery store, or supporting neighborhood-scale grocery options through incentives, partnerships, and thoughtful zoning. If we want people to build their lives in downtown here, we have to make it possible for them to meet their everyday needs here. I'll see you the rest of my time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So according to the latest reports, the mayor, county executive, and members of the Infinite Erie recently went to a convention meeting the Pennsylvania Defense and Innovation Summit. This summit is described as bringing together America's leading defense and technology leaders, including senior military commanders, industry CEOs, investors, innovators, workforce developers, and entrepreneurs, to accelerate innovation and strengthen America's defense industrial base. Showcasing Pennsylvania's leading defense companies, emerging startups and critical suppliers, creating direct connections with government procurement officials, prime contractors, and private capital. Where's any mention of the word public in this description? This is an actual quote coming from the speaker at the summit. We've got defense CEOs, tech pioneers, capital allocators, investors, and military officers. Let's look into the PA officials who headlined this event. Senator John Fetterman, who's pro-genocide and aligns with neoconservative foreign policy. Senator Dave McCormick recently posted his states, the future of war will be decided with who masters AI and autonomous systems first. Dave McCormick recently voted to integrate the Israeli military with the U.S. military. To give you some perspective, Israel, in committing genocide, has killed 200 plus journalists, systemically targeted children in the head and vital organs, resulting in much more than 20,000 children being killed, along with hundreds of thousands of indigenous people in the Gaza Strip. Israel has also dropped the equivalent of 10 Hiroshima bombs on the Gaza Strip and has developed a system involving training dogs to rape Palestinian prisoners. The This is 1% of what they continue to do. Mike Kelly, Jake Banta, a previous Blackwater mercenary. John Shapiro, who denies the genocide that Israel is carrying out on Palestinians, is documented by journalists on sending police to corral anti-genocide protesters and is in a photograph smiling while autographing bombs. Ryan Gazzaro, who attended a lavish tech summit sponsored by Google, who recently visited Israel while they were committing genocide, denies that a genocide is taking place and is pro-data center. Google specifically is part of Project Nimbus, a $1.2 billion contract that arms the Israeli government with AI and surveillance technology that's being trained during the genocide of Palestinians and then integrated into our government and military apparatus. This does not seem like a just way to build ships in Erie, Pennsylvania. Let's move on to Infinite Erie, part of the web of unaccountable power brokers in the city. Here's some examples of Infinite Erie's messaging on shipbuilding project, which includes, one, quote, a region deeply engaged in the defense industrial base, with $791 million in Department of Defense obligations. Two, it also states, quote, there are skilled trades aligned with shipbuilding and defense manufacturing. Three, it also states that Erie's inland location provides national security resilience. This is the same Infinite Erie organization who is involved with Washington Sales Partners, consulting firm bought out by Genoa, who was found guilty in multiple bid rigging lawsuits regarding projects similar to the one Infinite Erie is currently promoting on the bid front. I don't trust Infinite Erie, who is aligned with, and I don't think it should exist as an institution. Instead, there should be a deep investigation carried out into the organization and its ties to fraudulent actors. And any community project should be democratically decided by the community and publicly owned, not privatized. The survey does absolutely nothing. We have to talk about imperialism, the militarization of AI, and what it means not only for those abroad who are killed and occupied, but what it means for our community here at home and the acceleration of climate change. According to Cost of War, at least $8 trillion has been spent on post-9/11 wars. And from 20 to 2024, private firms received $2.4 trillion in contracts from the Pentagon. The U.S. has spent at least $3.4 trillion countering China militarily since 2012. We have 800 military bases. China has 1 military base. That's ridiculous. Harvard war budgeting expert Linda Lyons is now estimating that the illegal war launched on Iran will exceed $1 trillion in long-term costs. That's insane. The U.S. military is the largest consumer of fossil fuels and the biggest polluter on planet Earth. It's not even close. This is almost never talked about in the open and not included in reports. And it's making billionaires, defense contractors, private capital interests, and oil cartels billions of dollars. The World Wildlife Fund monitors wildlife populations worldwide, states that wildlife populations have decreased by an average of 73% since 1970. Freshwater species have suffered most severe losses, with 85% decline. You get it right on the year. Reports are now stating that climate change will result in temperature levels permanently rising as much as 2 degrees Celsius by 2030. This will result in an extinction level event beyond our comprehension, meaning that freshwater resources being depleted and our environment being cooked alive. It's already started. It's already awesome.
Hello, my name is Dan Norton and I live in Harbor Creek. Hello everyone, I'm new to this, so I apologize in advance if I'm out of line or if what I say is out of your scope. I came here originally because of concerns I have about the accountability of our governing body and the law enforcement. Many people here have said a lot of what I'm feeling much better than I can. These are things I care about a lot and the main reason why I'm here today. But I can't say what they've already said any better, so I'm going to go in a slightly different direction. I keep being told that there's a shortage of jobs. It's a topic I hear over and over again. Yet I look around outside. I see litter on the ground. I see potholes. I see broken street lights, broken fences, cracked sidewalks. I had a coworker from Ohio come to this city to assist me at a job, and he said, wow, Erie is so much more dilapidated than I remember. There is no shortage of work to be done. Some of these things are more difficult than others, but together we can do anything. Our government has an obligation to serve our community. Our government has the ability and capability and the responsibility to identify these shortcomings and address them. Funding is always used as an excuse. Companies like UPMC and Erie Insurance and others love to put their name on stuff. Talk is cheap. If they want to pretend they own the city, they can help pick up the tab. Maybe you can erect another advertisement as thanks for their contribution. I see a Gannon plaque over there for their contribution. You know, why stop there? And if they don't, I'm sure that there could be some cuts made to the police budget. It seems excessive considering it's nearly 40% of the general fund. I'm fortunate enough to own my home here, and I want the city to flourish, and we do not need a warships facility to give people gainful employment. Thank you. Woo!
Hi, my name is Cole Shenley. I live in the city of Erie. So I have a few things to talk about. One of which is I noticed that there's a couple of absences. Now, one of them I understand the person is not here at all. But the other person was here for part of this meeting. And my understanding was that with protocol that unless there's like an illness or they're out of town or something like that, that they should be in this room and not in some other hidden away spot. So I find it very disappointing that they've left, especially knowing that people would be coming here to talk about their behavior. I hope that something can be done so that some clarification, I know you can't answer questions, but maybe during the committee reports, if some kind of clarification could be offered, that would be wonderful. The next thing I'd like to talk about is, obviously, it's been touched on a little bit, was the defense contractor thing in Pennsylvania, this big convention. I understand that the mayor and the county executive want to bring money into the region. Totally support bringing money into the region in various forms and trying to find innovative ways of doing that. I do not think that investing in a war machine is the way to be going about this, and investing in getting money to come into our region that will be used to kill people abroad. I find that very disappointing, and I have a lot of respect for the mayor and the county executive, but this is a real disappointment for me to see them at this event begging for money. I'd also like to talk about what's happened locally with the police and the Kevin Sparks situation. And something I want to highlight is that I know that it was brought up by the council president that things are being looked into, work is being done. The mayor's put out a statement, you know, we're going to be releasing some information soon. Totally respect that. I think that's great. One thing I want to highlight is that when we have these conversations around policing in this city, sometimes we paint with too broad of a brush. All cops are bad. All cops are great. Fund the police, defund the police, all these kinds of, we can get into sloganeering. I want to say that anything that happens, we have to consider this though. We have a police union that is highly right-wing. It has targeted multiple members of this council in the last couple of years. It targeted a member of this council on a topic that had nothing to do with them, simply because that council member made a remark about a certain group of political people. And I want to say that that council member then received multiple death threats, multiple attacks online. I know that even in defending her myself on social media, I received death threats and threats on my body. I don't know that any progress can happen around this situation so long as we have a police union that decides that they would rather take up with a president that despises a massive part of this population, despises immigrants. When we have so many new Americans coming in to this community, how can new Americans feel safe in this community when they know that the police union will not be supportive of them? You need to take that into account in anything you do, whether it's a citizens review board, whether it's looking at their budget. Please take that into account. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Emma Wolf, and I'm a resident of Erie who has come here concerned and angered about recent behaviors I've seen over the last few weeks. In my life, I have met and loved many trans people, including family. So hearing comments that were made to another member of council several weeks ago angered me and broke my heart to see. And as the older sister of a lovely trans woman whose mental health has been struggling due to acceptance from community, I came here to demand a better response and accountability. I also come here as a former employee of Erie News Now, who was disgusted to see that a former colleague of mine had gross, awful comments made to them. I know my former boss came here, discussed a bit about it, probably better than I could, but I ask as someone who cares about my friends, cares about my family, that there be something more done. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Carly Paparelli. I live in Summit Township, but I work and spend a lot of time in the city. I want to touch on 3 things this evening. First, I would like to commend the community outreach survey that you guys sent out. I don't know who was in charge of that regarding the city parks. I mean, we have beautiful parks and they're just kind of falling apart. The actual survey, if anyone did take it, it really demonstrates a serious commitment to the to improving the quality of life and the well-being of the city residents, of the people who use it, just the people who even live around them. Regardless of the demographic, it's something beneficial for everyone. So I really appreciate that. Thank you guys. But going off that, the survey itself, if I could offer a suggestion, the survey itself was really well designed. It was super intentional, super comprehensive. But the survey itself was written in language that is inaccessible to a huge majority of city residents. If you've ever studied linguistics, took a class on that kind of thing, you'll learn about the term register. And it's the level of speech that you use. You've got frozen, which is like scripts and quotes and memes. You've got formal, your jargon, your technical documents, your academic language. Your consultative, where you're having like teacher to student exchanges. Casuals, just the conversation. Intimate, you've got your body language, your intonation things. Right now, this survey is written in language that's between formal and consultative, language that you don't learn until you are in advanced academic settings. If you are familiar with the Erie School District at all, if you're familiar with the statistics, you will know that on average, 20% of our students, for going back decades, ever reach proficiency in reading. That means these people who are graduating from our school district are reading at 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade levels, and the survey itself was designed for people with a college reading level. So all of these people we're expecting to use these parks to capitalize on these resources literally cannot access or understand the questions they're being asked. On top of that, we've got so many ESL, limited English proficiency families. We've got about 12,000 people in this city who don't use English at home. How are they going to use these parks to their fullest capacity if their voices aren't being heard? Because they literally cannot understand the requests made of them. So, going forward on that, if I could suggest, please, next time you send out a survey, maybe offer it in a few different languages. We have so many resources. Dumb down the language a little. It sounds insulting, but really it's what's needed when people don't speak that language. It's beautiful, but who it's designed for, did it hit the mark? If I could shoehorn in on the tails of that, I actually read some data this morning. The Erie School District, from 22 to 25, we tested 9,995 out of 10,076 school districts in the nation for reading. Math, we're almost dead last. We are doing very good. We're trying to get better. We're trying to improve, but how are we doing better for our people when that is what the education system is providing for our kids? Another bit of trivia, you guys may never have heard of this. After the Gulag system in Russia, where primarily the intelligentsia, the people who were just passionate about education and sharing that education, they were sent to these Gulag systems. The economic prosperity of those regions was dramatically higher than anywhere else in the country. So if we are testing dead last across the country, how can we expect our economic revival to ever happen? How can we improve as a people when we're not prioritizing education? How are we not doing anything with meeting people where we are or where they are? Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the worship facility. Do we need to be building warships if we're not minding our own business? Is that really going to bring us the most prosperity if we're sending we're sending our efforts to something that's going to go off and kill someone somewhere else. We need to focus on us. We need to mind our own business before we get involved in something like that. I did run into, speaking of parks, a couple of students this week who were very concerned with McKinley Park. Why are the swings getting taken down? Why are the tennis nets getting taken out? Why are the resources, the limited resources these kids have to participate in and enjoy their own city, being taken away from them? One of the students did come to a prior city council meeting and she said that nothing was done. No answers were made. They're still taking away the resources. So if you could please find out, I would love to know. Love to pass on the info. And then how much time do I have? Seconds? Okay. If you have immigrants, neighbors, don't tell them not to get a real ID. A friend just got flagged who is a citizen passport holder because he was adopted.
Hello, Nick Luna. I've been an Erie resident for over 6 years now. I moved here from Pittsburgh when I fell in love with the city. It made me feel safe and welcome. But I also have to recognize that because of the color of my skin, I experience a certain amount of safety that not everybody in this community experiences. Which is why it's so important to me that council listens when the people speak up. Because there's so many of us of so many different shapes and sizes, backgrounds, political leanings, who are still, for one, voting populists, but two, just people that live here. And I feel very sorry for the people that live here when there are very serious matters to be taken care of. And it seems that council would not want to hear what the people have to say based on, like others have brought up, the previous meetings about a month ago and prior actions of certain council members. And speaking of certain council members, I notice, obviously, we have an excused absence, but I'm not speaking, unfortunately, to all of council, which I was hoping to do. And I would like to note that I am here shaking, feeling like every bone in my body wants to jump out of its place and leave my muscles a puddle of goop on the ground. But you cannot stop me from coming up here and expressing my views. And I think that's very telling that I can be present for this in the middle of a panic attack while we cannot have all of council present to hear the concerns of the people. I could go on about so many more. How much time do I have left? Because there's 2 minutes. We've talked about the police brutality and the fact that not all members of our community experience equal safety. I cannot say anything better or more clearly than those before me, but I can add on that seeing the incompetence in the police department, given the amount of money that we spend on them, is sad, and it scares me because this is who's supposed to be protecting us, no matter what your views on the police are. And we can't trust them to do that right now. And that is only going to be made worse by the encroachment of flock cameras. into the city of Erie. Currently, the flock cameras are at both Lowe's, Home Depot, the mall. I'm sure I'm missing a couple because I think we just started adding some at Penn State. Correct me if I'm wrong. That is targeting, given those locations, a vulnerable population of day laborers, students from countries around the world, anybody coming off the highway on I-90 to stop by the mall or grab supplies. And those cameras allow unlimited access to information about anybody that passes by them. And if we let that continue, it will be a detriment to the rest of our community.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Javier, and I live in Erie for years and years. And I've been trying to bring the attention to you about law enforcement, Erie Police. I have videos of them. I went to court. I got charged for unlawful order and unlawful, and recording them from 50 feet away. And I've been charged, and I'm going again against another trial because I have recorded in the Mixed Justice Court public lobby that we are allowed to do. A policy don't trump our rights. We have rights under the First Amendment to record government officials on their duties. And I've been having issues with the judge, and that's why I was recording in the public lobby. And now the officer is charging me for unlawful use of recording. And for them to bring your attention already, this officer's been doing already out here. He already had a federal lawsuit against him that he lost. Now, Officer Justin, he was the one that arrested me for 50 feet away from him. He's the one that hit the guy on the bike. He should have been already dealing with. But when I called the attorney affair, he said I should have been the one in jail. But we had to stop this because if we don't, it's going to keep bringing more lawsuits than what we could afford. And in the city, y'all don't pay for it. We the people do. We got to step up and start doing for the community. Because if we don't, this officer is going to kill somebody one of these days. He already ran somebody over. He violated my rights already under the First Amendment. This is not right for us. And I appreciate y'all for listening to me today. And my name's Javier, and I go by Javi's News now on YouTube.
Teresa Sandler, City of Erie. I want to start with a question, not expecting an answer, but rather hoping you will consider it during my remarks and those of my community that are here tonight. Why are you here in the seat you are in? And what drove you to seek that seat over those behind me? I have recently been canvassing, speaking at community events, and talking, but more importantly, listening. I'm listening to understand my community's relationship with law enforcement and government, how it works for them, against them, what they would like to see change, and what they need to change. We are speaking to them about housing and what they want to see with new buildings, renovations, code enforcement. The event we will be at on Saturday is a Marimasala. Parade is at 11 and event starts at noon right here in Perry Square. This event speaks to my personal mission of community, inclusion, celebration of diversity, and reminds us of our common humanity. Celebrations alone will not fix what ails our community, but our elected officials, law enforcement, and civil servants can help by walking the streets, speaking and listening to what the city needs. Be creative. Walking recently, I saw neighborhoods with limited transportation, bulk items like broken AC units, tires, home debris, and no way to dispose of it. They don't have cars. They can't take it to the recycle. The city may have occasional drop-offs, but they're not able to get there, and they're not well publicized. Take the cleanup to them. We cleaned 2 bags of trash just walking back from canvassing to the Booker T. Let them know you care. Let them see your face. Let them tell you what they need. If you don't want to, then vacate the seat, because we need people who share a common humanity. Mayor Devlin isn't here tonight, and I'm not attacking her, but she made a comment after a meeting a month ago about increasing law enforcement because of disruptive youth and the complaints from the hotels and the establishments around the public dock. What creative ideas were brought in before the law enforcement? Did they bring in people like Mr. T? I don't want to talk for him, but he's an amazing asset in this community. Why aren't we bringing in people like that to talk to the youth, to find out? You know, maybe they couldn't go to McKinley and play at the playground because everything is gone. We're taking things away from the kids, but we're not giving them an avenue to exert their energy. It's summertime. They don't have school, so they need something. So we're going to throw law enforcement on top of them, listening to the business owners and not to the community. We need to address the root of the problem and not just appease the power in the business owners. And as for the police, when does protect and serve not have deterrence? We've seen a lot of events lately, and specifically the one at the gas station, that the police officers were already there. They were watching a fight at gas pumps. And instead of actually engaging with them, deterring them, stopping them, they allowed a gentleman to get run over. That's on the police. And personally, I think that they have a case against the officers. And I was talking to somebody while canvassing recently, and they told me about how their upstairs neighbors are continuously noisy. They've taken it to the landlord. Landlord says go to the police. Police have even come to the house. Instead of even having a conversation, they tell them, can't do anything. Deter somebody. Have an adult conversation with people upstairs and say, hey, why don't you start turning down the music before it gets too late? Why don't you consider your neighbors? Instead, they'd rather use force and wait for something bad to happen. Thank you.
Jared Stashevsky, Mill Creek Township specifically. I would like to say that I was surprised that Councilman Brzezinski was here for the ceremony with the Mercyhurst baseball team. Much respect for their achievement, but that was definitely the wrong person to do that, especially at the beginning of the meeting. And Dr. Titus, could you tell me, is Mr. Brzezinski censured?
No.
Why is he on video now and not in the chair? Because everyone, if you look up on the screen right there, you can see Mr. Brzezinski on the camera. And I don't think we should see him there either.
If I answer, it's going to take up your time.
Then we can talk after the meeting. And I actually have some good news that I would like to share. A $14 billion legal settlement with chemical companies that produce toxic PFAS, forever chemicals that are widespread and contaminating water sources, has money on the table that Erie Waterworks could cash in on. This huge payout is there for the taking by water companies if there is any more than 2 parts per trillion of PFAS in the source of the water that they treat and serve. And this would be at no cost to Erie Waterworks. they would likely be eligible for $60 million. They have not yet signed up for this free opportunity, and unfortunately, about $8 billion of the $14 billion remains unclaimed by water systems and will go back to the chemical companies if not claimed. Please do what you can to have Erie Waterworks respond to attorney Mike Ewald, who recently contacted them to make sure they're aware of this settlement, which is separate from other PFAS legal settlements that they may have signed on to. So that's some very urgent information. There's only about 2 weeks left to get that money. So, Ms. Schaaf, I know you'll probably be at the meeting tomorrow, but that would be some good information to relay to them. And I would like to ask the mayor and all council members what I could personally do to help. A lot of people have accused me of being negative, and I love Erie. I'm obsessed with Erie history. I like Erie people. I like the diversity. I like how we're kind of like crazy, but we get down and we help each other, and that is never more apparent than here. So if I ever come across as negative, I apologize, and if there's anything I could do to help anyone's cause, please ask me, and I would be happy to do that. So I would like to leave everyone some wise words. His name is Marshawn Lynch. Take care of y'all mentals, y'all bodies, and y'all chicken. Thank you.
Hi, Cindy Schreiber, born and raised in Erie, live in Edinburgh. Briefly, before I start talking about what I would like to address, if we are going to consider becoming a military hub of any sort, we have to have a serious conversation about our police force. Having lived on bases all over this country, I can adamantly declare that our force is not ready for the diverse population that will come in. Not ready. We're not even ready for that. Beyond the badge, those are the words that are displayed prominently on the first page of the Erie City Police Department recruiting guide. This guide assures us that trust runs deep, that building trust is foundational, and that police state is not just a job, it's a calling. Truer words have not been spoken. Law enforcement culture is unlike any other in our country, and it is a culture that should be rooted in integrity. As the recruiting guide also states, it has seemingly become one focused on power and politicization versus people of professionalism. We must acknowledge that this culture, as it stands in Erie, is a problem for our communities. The very purpose of police should be to protect and serve, to protect the rights of the people they serve, not to infringe upon them, marginalize them, or to value their basic humanity. The recruiting guide also discusses elite level training, skills, judgment, and competence. These seem to be concepts that should be highly favored in our police force. Training policies dictate that officers must maintain proficiency levels regarding key enforcement tools. Being that this elite level of training is so important, can somebody please share the training course, grading metrics, mastery level parameters, frequency of recertification, designated instructors or field training officers that are authorized to not only conduct training, but also to sign off on training of officers to use a 4,700-pound vehicle as a less lethal impact weapon, according to the policies of Erie. Less lethal impact weapon. If you have that training, you better have it on that. What certification exists that regulates training and deployment of quote-unquote anything that might not normally be considered a weapon? Is there a brick throwing course, a lead pipe course, a construction code course? Training standards must be synonymous with policies, and we cannot function in a perception-based police state and be a community-based police force. We should have serious questions about concerns of what concerns community police. We should have serious questions and concerns about what community policing means to the police versus what it means to the community. And by community, I do not mean the SPCP that was based on 70 people out of 91,000 persons. 70 people made up those policies and were part of that study. That's 0.00076% of Erie. Policies dictate funding, training, public safety initiatives, and they influence our interdepartment cultures. Without policies that reflect best practices, we end up with what we have in Erie now, and that's a divide that likely resembles the egregious racial segregation that was identified in 1973 between the state, our city, and its mayor. Stanford has significant guidance on models of use force in 2026 that address use of force. Erie does not have a single policy on use of force continuums on the ladder of what needs to occur. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? 93%, up from 29% of departments nationwide have specific policies on officers' duty to intervene. We clearly don't have much of a policy on that either, based on the video that we have seen with Kevin Sparks. Integrity determines how you respond and implement those skills. According to our recruiting guide, it's essential in our police force. It demands discernment and judgment. And when we have multiple officers in supervisory positions that have multiple complaints filed by citizens who are named in multiple lawsuits and multiple settlements, who are unilaterally making and implementing their own policies, we create a climate of disregard and dismissal for the very purpose of, but completely contradictory to the ideals of protecting and serving. What we do have, according to this guide, is confidence. We have confidence that we can use perception over preparedness. We have confidence that we can create our own policies where language does not exist. We have the confidence to get neighborhood action teams with SWAT members in full gear and assume that would be positively received by the community. We have the confidence to look at Black life differently. This can be shown in the very easily identifiable settlements that the Erie PD has paid out in the past 12 years. So if you want to talk about people's records, let's talk about this one. Of the 15 most notable controversial interactions, 11 have been with women and disabled, and more than half of the 15 have been with Black people.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Suzanne Legowski, a citizen of the city of Erie. I've worked in nonprofit organizations and human services in Erie for 27 years. I'm the current executive director of Erie Dawn, which is a nonprofit in Erie and a leader in this community. The focus of my work and career has always been working with women and youth in the community. I have built my home in the city of Erie. I have attended higher education here again, and I'm highly invested in promoting justice, equality, and human dignity, humanitarian efforts for all. I just wanted to make a note, if anybody is interested in talking about ways to work on the budget, I would highly suggest talking about ways to cut budget costs by meeting with families, particularly women, moms, single moms, low-income families, on how to cut those costs, because we have to do that every single day. So we would love to have those conversations. Additionally, I use she and her pronouns for any of the council members that would like to know that. But anybody else can call me doctor. I'm here to address the conduct and behaviors among leadership, law enforcement, and authority in this community. Unfortunately, I, like many others, have attended many city and county council meetings and voiced many great concerns with abuse of power, racism, bigotry, sexism, violence, homicides, bullying, and lack of transparency and leadership in this community. I am here again. We are here again, taking time out of our busy lives away from our families, our homes, our work, etc., to address these concerns. It is my right to be here. It is your elected job and your privilege to be here. However, today, I am not simply here to just voice my concerns and exercise my right of freedom of speech. I am here to sound the alarm, your alarm. Wake up. Let's all collectively wake up. And maybe for a council member that had to leave a little bit early, let's talk about collective and the definition of that. So collectively means doing or considering something as a group, not separately. It describes actions, decisions, traits shared by or involving every member of a group rather than individually or acting alone. So let's wake up to the common themes held throughout every incident presented from our collective concerns. So that collective concern is we actually have, and this is something that has not been discussed, a very big threat of toxic male culture and patriarchy happening in this community. It's happened in our history. I know, it's a little bit sensitive of topic, right? Because there's a lot of males in the room. I don't have a problem with males. I have a problem with toxic male culture and patriarchy. So I just want to make that clear. So what does that mean? So toxic male culture and patriarchy feeds off of abuse, power, racism, bigotry, sexism, violence, homicides, and bullying. Patriarchy, a social system in which men hold primary power, dominant roles, political leadership, moral authority, social privilege, and control of property. Toxic male culture, it's the rigid, traditional cultural norms that pressure men to embody aggression, dominance, stoicism, while devaluing empathy and emotional expression. So why don't we just stop pretending that this is complicated? Let's stop choosing to overlook this in our own community. And let's consider the leadership, authority, and law enforcement demographics in our own community. These systems that have been designed in every community in our lives. However, in 2026, we need to take a serious look at these systems. Are they working for everybody? Is it a collective effort? Are they just benefiting a select few? Are these systems promoting oppression? Are they feeding off the vulnerable and disadvantaged? Are these systems of law and order truly protecting? Are these systems hurting people and our communities? Are these systems negligent and corrupt? I think we know the answers to that. So some of those protecting us are hurting us. Some of those leading us are not leading, but are in positions driven by agenda and ego. People are more interested in popularity nowadays, getting votes, being on a stage, having a microphone, being on a podcast. So who does that really benefit? And why are we allowing this? So here's the thing. Let's just put this into the spotlight. These injustices, the bullying, the violence, the disrespect, abuses of power, they are, again, the foundation and result of toxic male culture and patriarchy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan Brayman. I'm a resident of the city of Erie. I'm going to be continuing on a theme that was discussed by others. Given these are the problems that our community is facing while officers are wearing the badge, I would emphatically agree we should be taking a serious pause and evaluate who our officers are beyond their badge. The complete indifference shown to Kevin Sparks with regards to the prison refusing specialist medical care being offered by AHN specialists, and the continued disregard for the injuries caused by this police department is repulsive. The excessive force plague that has infected our home, including using weapons as first option on the use of force continuum, which are nationally recognized as deadly force tactics, and the total disregard of community safety and hierarchy of safety needs and conflict resolution must change. Due to the concerns this community has regarding the implementation of perceived policies and life-threatening use of force by officers in high-saturation neighborhoods that also house many of our newer Americans, please consider this a formal complaint that warrants a 24-hour response regarding our certification as involvements. A formal complaint will be filed. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deontay Cooley, lifelong Erie resident. A couple different things that I wanted to talk about, touch on, kind of all over the place, but I mean, I know Dr. Tice, you said something about decorum and working on things or whatever the case may be. So, like, I wish Andre was here because I kind of wanted to speak to that, something that happened earlier. But I'm noticing Mr. Brzezinski, so I've been sitting here watching the whole thing, and like right now it looks like he's propped up in a recliner. You know, I seen him outside, sitting outside. It looked like he was ordering food or ordering a drink, and then I seen him take his phone. It's 3 people hopping in the picture, and they all laughing. I believe it was from the person who was addressing him for not being here. But that's just neither here nor there. But like, this gentleman is a representation. Well, you know what I mean? You all are a collective, and it's just starting to seem like there's no care from the city council, because I'm glad that Jared asked a question about the censorship, because I thought that he was, you know what I mean, censored, but I guess not. So I don't want to know why he isn't here, because again, I don't want my time to be taken up. But then another thing that I would like to know is, like, when you talk about decorum and you talk about the segment of public comment, what are and what aren't we allowed to talk about? What should and what shouldn't we talk about? Because I watched the lady here, literally watched the the life come out of her when you stalked her to tell her we don't handle things here, but it's like she was just asking for support. And if it's an opportunity for us to have a public comment, is it now going to get to the point to where you guys can't talk about certain things? If I want to come up here and sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for my 5 minutes, this is a legit question. Am I obligated to that? Or is there certain things that me as an individual living in the city of Erie, when it's public comment, are there things that I cannot talk about? That is a question I would like for you to answer.
No, you're just not allowed to address anybody.
Okay, thank you. So if I'm talking about something specific and it's on my heart and I'm asking for support from my elected officials, in my opinion, I believe that this lady rolled out of here in her chair and she was very disappointed. It was very disheartening to see that. So I did want to make sure to speak on that. But even outside of that, one of my concerns with, because I know we all talk about how we love the Erie community and we're talking about, the people with the housing issue. We talk about substance abuse. We talk about the unhoused community. But my question is, are we getting ourselves prepared for the crisis of the gambling addiction when these skill game machines have to come out of the places of the people who can't afford to pay that extra tax after 120 days, if that is what happens? Because addiction is real, and addiction doesn't discriminate against anybody or anything, and a gambling addiction is a serious thing. So there are going to be people who may not have access to their skill games to get their fix. They may not have a ride to the casino, so now we might see more skin joints coming up in our neighborhoods, or more illegal gambling activities, or people who just want some money. Crime goes up. Dealing with some of those stressors, more people are using drugs, more people are using alcohol. And there was a countdown. It was 120 days, I want to say a month ago. I'm not sure where the countdown is now, as far as the laws and things changing, but I was an addiction counselor for 12 and a half years. And people can become addicted to anything. When people are addicted to money, people will do anything for money. And then also there are people who run these organizations and these establishments and it's not to blame them, because people are trying to make a living. So now what are we going to do about the people who have to go from having income of, let's say, $5,000 to $10,000 a month to now $0, or now they're in the hole because they have to pay their taxes? How are we going to help those people either sustain their lifestyles or teach them some different type of style of business, or help them deal with their addiction of money and spending? Because now some of those people may have been sending their children to private school. Now they have to come to public school. Some of those people may have moved out of the neighborhoods to where they felt more safe, and now they may have to come back or be facing eviction notices. So again, I'm not sure if anybody has thought to consider this, but they're in the future, in the near future, and those machines were strategically dropped off in our neighborhoods, because they're not past 33rd Street. You know what I mean? And if they are, they're in certain areas or in specific things. So my question to you all is, are you considering the epidemic of the gambling addiction and how it's going to impact our city once those skill games get logged, or whatever it is that they're doing, and they say, okay, you guys got to pay these fines. You guys got to pay these taxes in order for them to be here, and people can't afford them. So now I can't get my fix on 22nd Street. I can't get my fix on 7th Street. Now I need to gamble. Now I'm going to go to the bar, because maybe the bar still has a machine in there. So now I'm drinking while I'm playing the game. And now a fight breaks out because you're at my machine, or I'm waiting my turn, and so on and so forth. It seems very far-fetched, but for anybody who ever has struggled with any addiction, or anybody who understands the gambling addiction, you understand exactly what I'm saying, and we all know how ugly this can get. So let's not ignore this because we're being distracted by so many other things, and let's realize and understand that there's going to be a population of people who will suffer here shortly, and we need to be addressing it. Thank you.
Julio Reyes, California, Erie. I was not going to speak, but I got encouraged for all the people making comments. I have a big mouth, and I'm always making suggestions. What I see here in Erie is like a total different dimension. I'm going to give you a couple of examples about how money and opportunities are wasted. I decided to go to the grade 8 Tuesdays at the Bay. People to be able to get in there, they make a line, and the line was about at least 100 people there, just waiting online to get in, 1 hour to get in. The vendors inside vending, they could sell more money, they could make more money if people were able to get in and being able to buy things faster. The gate, 2 people, 2 machines there, and then they open the bags, and then there's about maybe 30 minutes to get in. Sunny, the music performing, and then instead of being smart, that's of course the port authority. But if people should have been smart enough, they should have more gates open and then being able to move the people faster. Then you have about 4 guys, I'm short, so they look to me like 7 feet tall, heavy set, whatever. They should have women doing the screening. They are faster and better. Okay? So that's one example. Just one example. Erie traditionally watches the pennies and loses the dollars. Absolute waste of time. I went there, I enjoyed the music a little bit, and I just moved on. And I could give you another 20 different examples about what is happening. Now, what people forget about this forum and the whole city is we as humans are social animals, mammals. We imitate behavior. If we have a bad example, most of the group tend to follow that bad example, what Dante was talking about. You start gambling because it's just fun, then it becomes an addiction, and then you don't have anything else to do. And other people were speaking that they were making troubles in the bay because they don't have parks to play. You should be smart enough to audit the organization that are running away with money in the shelters where homeless people don't want to go because there is violence and there is drugs and there are problems. How do I know? I talk to anybody in the streets. Actually, I have a conversation with me in the mirror just to learn some things about what's going on. I talk with people in the streets and I ask them, why you don't go to this place? Because there is a lot of violence. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be around people that have drug addictions and they are not treated. Why do I want to be there? I'd rather be on the streets. Now, I'm not saying that I am right. I'm just conveying the message that I get from the people living in the streets. Now, you are a forum. It only takes one bad apple to damage the basket. You need to do something about the image that you are sending to the world in every moment, because that's what you choose to do. So you are there, keep a minimum standard of performance, and if a bad apple is always in the basket, you need to get rid of the bad apple. In the authorities, in the non-profit organizations, in the businesses, in the landlords, you only need to get rid of about 10, 15 bad apples, and then the problems are solved. Again, I was not going to talk about this because, again, I talk too much, but believe me, I'm 72 years old, and I've been told that I have good ideas, so just try to use the ideas. Follow what I'm trying to say. I'm not really that articulated, but I could tell you, you give me a problem, I will solve it for you for a nominal fee. Thank you very much.
Anyone else here for public comment? Anyone else here for public comment? Anyone else here for public comment? Okay, we will go ahead and close the public comment section.
Ordinances for final passage. Council file number 16621. Official record 42/2026. An ordinance appropriating the sum of $189,868 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is the 2026 Insurance Fraud Prevention Authority grant, sponsored by Councilmember Cole, seconded by Councilmember Troop. The City Council file ordinance bill number 16621, and now known as official file ordinance 42/2026, to be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski. You gotta unmute. See you talking. Horton.
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Shaw. Yes. Drew.
Yes.
Titus.
Yes.
Member Brzezinski, can you unmute?
can't even take this serious. I thought you in a recliner. Where is phone? Where are you sitting in that damn chair?
Yeah.
I would just list it as abstaining. Because he honestly, something went wrong, so he wasn't able to vote. So it's not a no, I would call it abstaining.
Okay.
Just for lack of that.
Ordinance. City Council pass official file ordinance 42, 2026, finally by yeas 5, nays 0.
Did you hear my yes?
No.
Were you a yes?
I was a yes.
Okay.
I'm muted now.
Council file number 16, 622, official ordinance 43, 2026, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $405,899 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof for the 2026-27 Auto Theft Prevention Authority grant. Sponsored by Councilmember Cole, seconded by Councilmember Troop. That Council file ordinance 16, 622, and now known as official file ordinance 43, 2026. He finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski,